Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com, on the website, thegamesportshow.com, or on the Scott Neeson YouTube channel. It is November the 22nd, 2018, and we're here live at Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie for our Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show. I'm going to be joined momentarily by Dane and Justin. I'm going to bring in the fellas in just a few minutes. Just going to get through the usual introduction portion. We have an action-packed show here, as always, for Thursday night edition of the Game Sports Show. You can listen to previous editions of the Game Sports Show on the Podbean page, website, or YouTube channel. Our previous show was on Tuesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill, a different day than Wednesday, but you can listen to that episode with myself and Jamie Antonello from earlier in the week. We did not have a show this previous Monday at the Wicked Sisters due to being Thanksgiving week in the United States. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to my American friends over the border. And I want to say sorry to the listeners that we did not have a bonus upload this past Sunday, as yours truly was feeling ill on Sunday, so I was unable to do a bonus segment with Brad Cochamilio on the local front when it came to hockey in Sault Ste. Marie. Brad Cochamilio will not be by here at Northern Superior Brewing Company tonight, as he is still very busy throughout the Thursday nights here in Sault Ste. Marie, and every day as he is. We will have a bonus show on Sunday at Icebreaker Sports Bar upstairs at the John Rhodes Community Center, as the border battle between the Sioux Eagles and the Sioux Thunderbirds will be going on. We'll have a pure local segment upload with yours truly, with Justin and Dane hopefully being by there as well, with Brad Cochamillo getting the update for our local hockey in Sault Ste. Marie involving the Thunderbirds and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in the fellas here. I'm going to the guy in front of me right now, Dane Hanchrow. Dane, you're my roommate. We're both still alive. It's been about a month. About 3 weeks a month. Roughly, yeah, and it's your second straight show because you had a 6 months hiatus being out working Red Lake with all the firefighting and forest fires and everything out there. Welcome to tonight's show, bud.
Thanks for having me once again, Dave. Just want to say go Falcons tonight. Season's pretty much over for us, but I just like to see them beat the Saints, and I can chirp our friend Condon there.
And Antonello.
Who jumped ship.
Yeah.
From the Buccaneers.
He jumped ship. He announced that on the show last year, and I'll never let him live it down for that. Justin, one of the guys signed over beside me right now. How you doing, my friend?
Not bad. Nice and warm in here, unlike outside. Minus 20 this morning.
Yeah. It's supposed to pick up the temperature this weekend.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so then Monday everybody can skate to work. Should be great.
Classic Hykel with the weather update in the intro there.
Yeah, and my tires are bald on my truck, so I think if skating to work would be a better option. Anyways, more fuel efficient.
I'd pay to see you skate up that hill.
I still could.
I'd pay good money to see that.
I still could. I could skate that hill backwards on 20 beer.
Again.
On 20
good
organs.
Money to see you do that.
Fellas, we got an action-packed show. Last Thursday, we had a very good edition of the Game Sports Show that was purely just professional hockey with a little bit of baseball discussion. Tonight, we are just going to be sticking to hockey here, and I'm going to be the one mentioning a little bit of local sports when it comes to the Sioux Thunderbirds and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. We're going to save the whole spiel and the whole catch-up and update for the local side of hockey in Sault Ste. Marie for our Sunday edition with our opener at Icebreaker Sports Bar. Now, just so listeners know, yes, we have our show on Mondays at the Wicked Sister. We have our shows Wednesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill. Mondays, that is a variety edition of the show where we talk local and we talk professional sports in its variety. Wednesdays, it is just football. We talk basketball, WWE, golf, and variety on that show as well. Thursdays here, we do talk hockey and baseball, sometimes golf as well if that fits into the schedule and didn't fit into the Wednesday show, mainly just hockey and baseball. But on the Sunday show that we're going to be doing from Icebreakers, we're going to have bonus uploads throughout the entirety of the hockey season. And those bonus uploads will be connected with our Thursday show. As I mentioned, our Thursday show at Northern Superior Brewing Company will still occur every Thursday. Just every Sunday, especially when there's a Sioux Thunderbirds home game on Sundays, we'll be at Icebreakers covering pre- and post-game for the Sioux Thunderbirds and also for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds if we're on location for that game as well. So the special edition shows will be powered by both Northern Superior Brewing Company and Icebreakers Sports Bar. So you can come on by there when we are there on Sundays. Just make sure you keep your ears open for when we are going to be there. We will let you know on every Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show live from Northern Superior Brewing Company if we're going to be at Icebreakers on that weekend. Fellas, introducing another home to the Game Sports Show. We know we had Silver Creek Golf Course be our summer edition for the year. Now with it not being in golf season anymore, our special edition show and on the Sunday show will be at Icebreakers. Good old Mitch Wilson, Jody Wilson. Jody getting back upstairs at the John Rhodes Community Center. I know Dane's very excited about that. Remember that being Chili Willie's. Remember Brody's being there. Remember some of the good times. It's finally that they have a restaurant upstairs at the Rhodes that it's going to be huge for the Sault Thunderbird games, especially for business for Jody Wilson. Let's get real. Very excited to have the show transition there to do some bonus uploads on Sundays, as we do have our 3 primary homes with the Wicked Sister Sports Center and obviously here at Northern Superior Brewing Company. But doing shows at Icebreakers really gets us more in depth, even more than what we are now with the local size sports, especially with the Thunderbirds and Hounds. Justin.
It's nice to have an opportunity like that, just to be right in the rink, to be able to watch the games, and then be able to meet with players just right there, right after the game. Go down and talk to them. Get fan reaction from up in the bar. It's going to be unique. Definitely a unique experience, that's for sure. It's
going to be, that's the big reason why we're doing it too. And we did have a partnership with Mitch Wilson and Aaron Grisdak when we were running Boston Pizza, and that's where the show actually really spiked in the popularity, which we thank the listeners for that especially. But with Boston Pizza being there and that partnership being strong, with the idea being with myself and with Trevor Zachary being a representative here at Northern Superior Brewing Company and the GM of the Sault Thunderbirds, and Jody Wilson being a good friend of his, Mitch being a good friend of mine, it all just made sense to go do something live on location, give the Thunderbirds that extra promotion that they most definitely deserve, and also with the Hounds. Where if the Sault Thunderbirds don't play on a weekend in town, or if they don't play on a Sunday, or if they don't play on Saturday, whatever it may be, we'll make sure that we cover the entirety of the weekend when it comes to for the Hounds and the Thunderbirds. And I know we will not have an Icebreakers at the GFL Memorial Gardens, obviously, but those bonus uploads after Hound games will take place at the Icebreakers after those Hound games. But on this upcoming Sunday, we will be live on location at 3 p.m. is when we're going to be setting up until about 4 o'clock. 4:30, where we're going to be talking right throughout the game. Now, people have been asking if we're going to be doing broadcasts, play-by-play. I will let you know that is not going to be happening. The NOJHL already has that covered with the hockey program that they have there in the NOJHL, so we will not be doing that. Our show is strictly just a news media, and sticking with that, obviously, and obviously wouldn't want to take anything away from what the NOJHL has with partnerships. So make sure you keep your ears open for those bonus uploads powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company live at Icebreakers. And like I said, we're still at our 3 main locations, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Fellas, I'm going to jump right into the local portion before we go to break. I'm going to let you guys sip on a couple beers. I'm going to spearhead the local side here in a little bit, as we're going to be doing a lot more when it comes on Sunday with Brad Cochimilio live from Icebreakers. And going to those Sault Thunderbirds, who are actually currently in action. They're playing Espanola right now. The second period is just getting underway. Most likely by the conclusion of this show, the game will also be concluding as well. The Thunderbirds are up 2-1 in that game as the second period gets underway. And the Sault Thunderbirds, they in this game going against Espanola, there's a lot of question if it's going to be a game where the Sault Thunderbirds are just going to either come out and steamroll Espanola, or if Espanola is going to be that hard-working team that they were really pointing out to be. And so far in the game, we have 2 goals by Lucas Terrio, obviously, who's been really stellar this season for the Sault Thunderbirds, and they're up 2-1 going into the second period. But this is what I like about the Sault Thunderbirds being at home. They're comfortable with the John Rhodes Community Center. It's different than any other NOJHL junior rink. Tell you that based on experience. You guys can second that being fans. It's a different kind of rink to play on. The boards are not as lively as some rinks. The atmosphere, the crowd that they get is a lot different than what the Polar Stadium does. Let's be real and flat out say that. The Polar gets hundreds upon hundreds of people there at Polar, and it's a different atmosphere. The Rhodes, now that Icebreakers open, I think you're going to see more fans there. I know a lot of them are going to go upstairs, but at least the fan base is going to be there, out there to support them. And right now with Espanola, they're 5-20 this year. And to be in the game against the Sault Thunderbirds, you got to expect maybe that the Thunderbirds were going to come into this game to steamroll, but you can't take any game lightly this season in the NOJHL. The Sault Thunderbirds go into action tonight, 17-5-0, 34 points in only 22 games played. That is the least in the NOJHL. The second place team in the West has 31 points, and they've played 26 games. That is Rayside Balfour with 14-9-1-0. 2. Now, the Sioux Thunderbirds play this Sunday. As I mentioned, 2 o'clock. They'll have the border battle against the Sioux Eagles. The Eagles currently tonight are in the record of 10-15, so they're 14 points behind the Sioux Thunderbirds with 3 games up on the Thunderbirds as well. So make sure, if you are listening to this podcast right now, if you want to go watch some exciting hockey, go over to the John Rhodes Community Center and support those Thunderbirds. Or if you're looking for something to do on Sunday, there's always options when it comes to hockey locally here in Sault Ste. Marie between the Thunderbirds, or if it's the Midget Thunderbirds, or if it's the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, or even if it's the over-border Sault Ste. Marie Eagles. You can come out and check out some good hockey, but make sure you go to the John Rhodes this upcoming Sunday, especially at 2 o'clock, as the border battle plays host at the John Rhodes Community Center. Now, sliding over from the Sioux Thunderbirds, as that's all we're going to talk about with the Thunderbirds for this show. We're going to talk more on Sunday. The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds this weekend are on the road. So the Thunderbirds are the only hockey you can watch locally, which adds to the fire. Make sure you go buy your tickets to go watch them this weekend. But the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are in Guelph on Friday, which is at 7:30 puck drop. On Saturday, they are in Owen Sound. And then next week, they are also on the road, as well as they're in Windsor and also in Saginaw and also in Flint. And we know what happened the last time the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds played Flint, a little bit of a disappointing outing. So I imagine they want to redeem that game. But going on like a little bit of a road trip here, you know, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds have been a little bit up and down as of late. You know, they lost 8-2 to Ottawa last week in a very, very upsetting game here at the GFL Memorial Gardens. They did win overtime against Windsor, and then they did defeat Sudbury last night 7-4. And going into action this weekend, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are considered second in the Western Conference with 24 games played, 14-6-3. And in the last 10, they are 5-3-1-1. The team that is considered surpassed them because they've only played 21 games and are 15-4-2 are the London Knights. London is 9-0-1 in their previous 10 games. So the Western Conference getting a little bit tighter, especially with Owen Sound, who the Hounds play this weekend. They're 13-7-1-2 with 29 points in 23 games. Guelph 11-5-3 with 28 points as they are in 4th place. So the Western Conference is getting a little bit tighter there. And over, if you want to look at the East, with the Hounds losing to Ottawa, Ottawa is 19-3-3-1 for 42 points, 12 points up, and also 4 games up on the second place Mississauga Steelhead. So the Hounds right now, fellas, I just want to go around the table. Dane, you mentioned it right there before. London Knights back to first place in the OHL right now. Well, in the Western Conference, I should say.
Yeah, all ops normal with the London Knights, the king of the OHL, as per usual. I mean, the Greyhounds are still up there in the standings and playing decent hockey. I know they've been struggling a little bit of late, and that loss against Flint must really, really hurt. But I think that's a good motivator to, play better hockey. That's not a team that the Greyhounds should be losing to. Flint's pretty much god awful. I think they're 2-20 right now. I think since they've been a franchise,
2-21-1.
Yeah, they've been terrible. So that might be a good little kick in the butt for the Greyhounds to kind of get going. And I think everybody would love to see a little matchup in the playoffs: London versus Sault Ste. Marie, and hopefully we can beat them.
To beat them. And see, that the big loss that stands out to me is not even just Flint; it's that Ottawa loss, 8-2. That is a pretty big butt kicking if you're looking for the other. I know a lot of people say the score didn't really define the game. In my eyes, I wasn't able to attend the game due to work. Scott Nason attended the game, and based on what I was telling, it was Ottawa was the superior team. Obviously, right there, that's all it needs to be said. You can look at that. Yes, the Hounds won on Sunday against Windsor 6-5. They pull away with an overtime win. Sudbury, you got to give Sudbury a little bit of credit. They battled hard, and Sudbury's 5th over in the Eastern Conference, 13-8. And the Pelons being there, Sault Ste. Marie kids, they're good. That was a good win for the Hounds last night. Good character win. Hopefully they can carry that momentum going into this weekend. And for updates this weekend, as both Hound games will be completed when we have our bonus upload from Icebreaker Sports Bar, powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company, as well, with Brad Cochimilio planning to come on by. We'll give you the full diagnosis and recap about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, not just this weekend, but going up to date in its entirety. And also we're going to talk about the Rasmus Sandin. If people are wondering why I'm going to talk about Rasmus Sandin, he's not wearing a jersey right now. He has played a handful of games over in the Marlies. Kyle Dubas is from the Sioux. You got to be thinking, you have Hayden here. Arizona sent back Hayden. Philly sent back Frost. They were sent back here because of how good this team will be with these kids. Very interesting point to see now with being at this point in the year how good the Hounds are doing, if Dubas might actually send Sandin back to the Hounds. Or if he is going to stay, or if he is going back to Sweden. I want to get Brad's update on that. We did have Brad's take earlier in the year that it seems like he's not going to, but a lot of interesting points that we're going to bring up that I've heard from fans, from scouts in the area as well, and hockey experts in terms of why he should come back. So make sure you keep an eye on that upload for that bonus upload on Sunday when we talk more local sports. Myself, Justin, and Dane are going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the NHL. And that is the only topics we're going to be talking about tonight in the National Hockey League. We will not be talking about baseball or anything of such. It'll be just a pure hockey show tonight, just due to time constraints and schedule conflicts by yours truly. We're going to take a quick break, as I mentioned. We're going to hear from our sponsors and some commercials. And when we come back, we'll dive into the Professional Hockey League. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig, alongside Dane Hanchrow and Justin Hykel, bringing in the fellows once again. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com, thegamesportshow.com, or on the Scott Neeson YouTube channel. If you want to listen to previous editions or keep tabs on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or on the Podbean page, and bookmark that website. Not a bookmark that you put in the books. I don't know if anybody here reads a book anymore. Not gonna lie, I read a book this summer for the first time probably since grade 9. But on the website, you can hit the star for the bookmark, and it's on your laptop, and you keep an eye on all the uploads that we have here on the Game Sports Show, from the Wicked Sister, from Sports Center Bar and Grill, from here at Northern Superior Brewing Company, from Butch on Sports over in Detroit, and also from our bonus uploads that we're going to be having from Icebreakers Sports Bar, which will be connected with our Silver Creek portion of the page. Now, fellas, moving into what we're going to talk about in the National Hockey League, lots of topics we're going to be discussing. Kudos to Dane bringing up a lot of the topics here today. We're going to talk about NHL coaching situations. We're going to talk about coaching of the year. We're going to talk about last year's playoff teams that aren't really doing as good this year. We're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And William Nylander, the time is ticking for them. And we're also going to be talking about the worst trades in the NHL in the last 25 years that we're going to use to close the show before we wrap up everything tonight. We're not going to be talking about the power rankings, as a little surprise, I'm playing on Craig Hartsburg doing his first upload or segment by himself, hopefully this weekend or going into next week, where he's going to be doing his upload or his post saying what he thinks the top 5 or top 10 teams are in the National Hockey League. So that'll be very exciting. Make sure you keep an eye on the Facebook page and on the Podbean page here for that, by former Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds coach and World Junior coach and NHL coach Craig Hartsburg. Fellas, we're going to jump right into the National Hockey League right now with the NHL coach hot seat, we'll call it. This is something that I did bring up to Hartsey a couple weeks ago, and it's something that he uses minimal comments on because he was an NHL coach, and there's only so much that he can say. He knows how it feels like to get let go. He knows how it feels like to get signed mid-season. He knows how it feels like to get signed in the off-season, and it's hard on families a lot when you get let go. There's a lot of complications. So we're going to use this topic for us to talk about, and you brought up, Dane, while we're off air, we're talking about Mike Yeo getting fired with St. Louis. Talk about McCellan, your Oilers getting relieved, and Ken Hitchcock sliding in. Stevens in LA getting let go with Desjardins taking over. We also have Joel Quenneville that we talked about a few weeks back, and that's when I did have Hartsey on, that we talked about Quenneville getting out of Chicago. So now these coaching changes, a lot of them did, the two of them did come as a surprise for me. The one being with McCellan, one with Edmonton, and Joel Quenneville. Those are the two that were really surprising to me. Mike Yeo, based on the start, wasn't surprised. And Stevens, I think there's other coaches that LA could bring in to really help that veteran team that they have on that roster. But I'm going to go over to you, Dane, since it's a topic that you brought up with. What other teams do you see making coaching changes in the near future? And talk about the reaction in particular with Hitchcock replacing McCellan.
I mean, it's an interesting time. You got to think that the Quenneville firing really kind of set the tone. If you look at the standings right now, I think there's only about 5 teams that are below 500. I don't think I've ever seen the standings so tight in the first quarter of the season since I've been watching hockey. So, I mean, a lot of, there's always a reaction to an action, and it's just once Quenneville got fired, I think a lot of other teams kind of looked at where they were sitting, and they're still in it, and they were struggling, and I think they just, it was time for a change. In Edmonton, I mean, to put the blame on McCellan, I think it's unfair. I think there's a change was needed. And I mean, like, everybody wants Chiarelli gone.
Yeah,
every Oilers fan wants him gone. I think he's made some god-awful trades.
Worse than Bergevin has?
Well, I mean, he traded Taylor Hall and Sagan, the 1 and 2 picks in the same draft, for not much. I mean, Adam Larson's a good defenseman. Was he worth a Hart Trophy winner? Absolutely not. I mean, I think, like, you fire a GM in the offseason because he's making moves for the roster. If you want change during the season, I think you have to kind of fire the head coach because it's going to have more effect on the team. I like Hitchcock. I think he's he's from Edmonton. He lives in Edmonton. I think it was just kind of a nice fit for him just to kind of go in there. I'm going to miss Todd McClellan. I wish that he was a little bit more successful with Edmonton.
He won't be out of a job too long.
I mean, it's a dumpster fire there. Like it's hard to watch sometimes. I mean, you have 3 guys on the team: Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and McDavid, and we got Chase on, who has 9 goals. But if you look at the rest of the team, nobody's producing any points. And like the secondary scoring in Edmonton has been a problem for the last 10 years. We've been running one solid line, and you know what? That's just not enough. But as far as like other coaches go, like, you got to look at Pittsburgh. Sometimes they've been quick to fire their coach. You look at Dan Bielema. They struggle for a small period of time, and like I could see Sullivan maybe getting fired. Like, if we want to look at coaches that are on the hot seat, other teams, it's just so close right now. So like, you really got to be confident in the decisions that you're making. Like I said about the standings, like, it's so tight right now. I think it might calm down for a bit. I don't really see any other coaches going anywhere soon, but yeah, there's a lot of good teams that were good teams last year that aren't playing good hockey right now. And you can blame it on the coach, you can blame it on the players. I mean, if you think a trade is a solution, then make a trade. You think firing your coach and hiring another coach. As far as Joel Quenneville goes, I don't think he's coming back this year. He looks like he was having a lot of fun at the Bears football game there. A former coach of the St. Louis Blues, there is an opening for him to go there. I imagine they probably contacted him. I think he's done for the year, so I think you got to look at other available coaches. If you're going to fire your coach, there has to be that guy that you think is going to be the coach that's going to turn the tide for your team. I mean, like Todd McClellan, maybe he gets a job halfway through the season.
St. Louis, maybe he jumps ship.
I've never been a big fan of changing coaches halfway through the season. I think you have your structure and you have the way that you're going to play the game. I think you should run with it. I think sometimes it takes a little bit longer for teams to kind of get going. But yeah, it should be interesting. 4 coaches fired in the first quarter of the season. Like,
would have called that.
Yeah.
Justin, your thoughts?
I think as soon as Quenneville went, every team kind of thought, well, I mean, if they fire him, we don't look that bad. And that's the easy out right now. And maybe there's some teams that are, to me, it kind of seems like Quenneville in Chicago seems like a knee-jerk reaction to me. They maybe wanted to send a message to the locker room, and that's the way they did it. But I don't think firing a coach of his caliber, and I don't know who they brought in, but what I heard today is he's the long-term solution there. Like, they've signed him to be Joel Quenneville's replacement. As far as Quenneville goes, I think he sits out this season. I think he's going to get
Jeremy Colleton.
I think he's going to get Mike Babcock money. He's that caliber of coach.
Mike Babcock set the tone for coaches getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with their repertoire.
And so he can sit back and basically go to team summer and say, I could be your coach. Whether things like that happen or not, I don't know.
If you look at the coaches that were fired, the teams that they have are like one-line teams. Look at Edmonton. They got the Connor McDavid line. You look at Chicago. I know Taves and Kane don't always play together, but all these teams are lacking depth. LA, same thing. Their first line's not even scoring right now. I got Kopitar in my pool, and he's playing
Oh,
terrible
the
right
worst
now.
season I've ever seen him play.
Gabrick's out, so like you look at these teams, and I think it's not a coaching problem. I think it's a depth problem. I don't think they have the players.
Well, it's just it's a result of. I mean, we're looking at some teams like the Pittsburghs, the Kings, the Chicagos. Those
were the teams in the early 10s.
They were the dynasty teams of the late 2000s to mid 2010s, whatever that's called.
The 10s.
And now they're paying the price for paying their players. I mean, a lot of these teams had the 2 superstar system, and LA signed Dustin Brown for $1 trillion. So that's a problem on its own.
Salary cap's an issue. Look at Edmonton with Lucic.
Well, it's just
look at LA with everybody. Everybody.
LA is a
everybody.
cap hell.
Yeah. They're the leader of the cap hell.
And you see Pittsburgh re-signed Jim Rutherford for 3 years. Like, that's ownership in Pittsburgh's smart. I mean, he's been able to kind of tread or get through this cap hell that Pittsburgh's in. I mean, relatively unscathed. Pittsburgh's been competitive. And with those big contracts, the Crosby, the Malkin.
Kessel.
They got rid of Fleury, but they have Kessel. Defenseman.
Matt Murray. They got
Letang.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Murray's probably not even as ridiculous as...
He's on the IR right now.
Yeah, they put him on the IR today.
I mean, Pittsburgh every once in a while goes on these struggles, and they always get out of it.
They have some injury trouble right now, but I think Pittsburgh has the best chance to rebound out of the slump. I think LA's a hurting unit for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I think Chicago could maybe pull it out, but I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Chicago to give you an educated answer on that.
Sticking to the coaching changes with it. We'll tie this into our next topic is talking about teams that are struggling. Do you see Pittsburgh making a coaching change then, since we're talking about? No, you don't.
I don't think so.
No.
Jim Rutherford's experienced enough to know that this isn't a coaching problem with the roster. They haven't had a goalie. Crosby's been out. I mean, he's been out for most of November.
A week. Yeah.
Well, Matt Murray's been bad this year.
Yeah, he
let's
has
be
been.
honest.
But has it been just an injury, and he hasn't maybe been able to play, and he's just been trying?
I'm not sure if there was something that happened last game, or he's just been playing hurt for the whole season, and now it's obviously with his play, it's been an issue, right? So I think maybe that's why he's on the IR. I'm not sure how long, but.
They said they placed him on injured reserve with a lower body injury. He'll be out longer term, is what they said. Longer term, and he hasn't played since the 17th of November. Producer Ghost, thanks for that information. He's on the money a whole bunch of times. I'll slide over and jump in, fellas. Hot seat for coaching. I don't have anybody else on the hot seat, to be totally honest with you. Jar Gallant of Vegas is not on the hot seat. Okay, I'll tell you right now. I know a lot of people really point at Vegas this year. I know we're going to talk about a few teams with our playoff teams that aren't in the picture right now, but out of the coaching changes, I think we've seen what we're going to see for most of the year, if not for the rest of the year. The only other change you're going to see is a signing from St. Louis.
I think if you look at the other teams that are struggling right now, it's injuries that have been hurting them. Whereas you look at the other teams that have fired their coaches, they haven't had a lot of injuries. They just haven't been playing good hockey. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But
you got to look at Florida as slow coming out of the gate. If you want to really look at a team that might look to change, if someone really had to, it's going to be Florida or Detroit. I'm sorry to Jeff Blashill fan. I know he's a Sioux Michigan, so I know it might come a little soft to them, but you know what? I don't think it's going to be Jeff this year. I think you might see that in the offseason. Florida being 8-8 after their hot end of the year last year, they didn't expect that. You know, they've been in the rumors of being a Nylander running, which I think they're out of now, to be honest with you, from what I've read. But coaching change this year, I think, has happened. And to transition to what you said, Dane, about Coach of the Year point, if you want to go to that, there's a couple coaches you got to really think. You got to think of Peters and Calgary right now that's in the running for that. You have to think, obviously, the Predators with Laviolette being there, right? It's him being the winning it. Tortorella is leading the Metropolitan Blue Jackets, but I can't see him being in the running right now. Mike Babcock, yes. I think he is up there. Like, and he's
requires playoff success.
Yeah, it does. And then you got, the Buffalo Sabres, who are just absolutely hot right now. And their coach, Phil Housley. Former player, right? Like, right now, Buffalo is absolutely hot. So, if you want to give me the early candidate right now, I'm going to say the early candidate right now for me is Phil Housley.
What about Rod Brindamore in Carolina?
Who's the guy?
Barry Trotz and on the island there.
Barry Trotz doing very well on the island,
I
actually.
don't think anybody expected the Islanders after you lose Tavares to be, as competitive as they are. And they're not scoring goals. They're just playing solid hockey, structured hockey, good defensive play. Like, if you look at their stats, they're not exactly lighting it up like they were last year offensively. They're just, Leonard and Grice are just, two goalies that have never been
They've got
starters.
adequate goaltending.
Yeah.
I just think the big thing with Phil Housley this year is turning around that. I didn't think the Sabres were going to be that good this year. And bringing in Jeff Skinner, that trade's looking like a fucking steal.
As much as it kills
It
me to
is.
say, Peters and Calgary, that's a team that has had so much potential with great players and are consistently inconsistent, where, they're playing as one of the best teams in the league for a stretch, and then they're one of the worst teams. And if you look at their fall of last year in the last quarter of the season, I think you got to look at coaching for that. I mean, you got to keep your team competitive. If you got a good team that's playing good for 3 quarters of the season and then just shit the bed in the last quarter of the season, I think that's more of a coaching thing than anything. So, Peters and Calgary, they're playing really good hockey. I hate it.
We're still at the quarter mark, so I know we're pumping the brakes, but early you got to give credit where credit's due. And that credit is due on a lot of Calgary, like you said. Buffalo, Carolina against Toronto yesterday was they outshot Toronto. I know we're going to talk about this later on a Leafs chat where they outshot them 30 shots in the first period.
I was going to say
that. And then they didn't get a shot until like a minute left.
2 shots, but 2 shots in the second.
Yeah, like it's so. But at the end of the day, you got teams that are doing really well, which I think is good for the National Hockey League. And the teams that were expected to be hot aren't, which I also think is good for the National Hockey League too.
I think
it's not a bad thing.
About the NHL right now is people are scoring goals and the league is tight. Like, nobody's out of it. Even LA. LA is like 7-13 right now.
Yeah.
They're the last place team in the NHL. 7-13 is not terrible.
No, you're not looking like a Flint Firebirds record.
Yeah.
No offense to Flint, but it's true.
No, it's nice to see every game you turn on is competitive.
Every game. It's like football this year. It's almost
not like, a couple of years ago where you'd look at a matchup and you'd be like, oh, great, Arizona and Toronto. I'm going to go blow snow because it's more entertaining.
Yep.
But now every game you turn on, like it could go either way. Like there's not.
I think it's like a time of transition where those teams, like we were talking about earlier, with Chicago and LA and Pittsburgh,
they're older.
It's those teams that suck for a really long time, like Buffalo and Carolina. Like, we're kind of in that halfway point where the teams are regressing and these other teams are kind of rising up
or ascending.
And I think that's kind of why the standings are so close right now.
And the big thing about the standings being close is just adds to the excitement for the National Hockey League. Right, that all in all. But speaking of last year's playoff teams, the Kings, Ducks, Knights, Flyers, Devils, and Pens, just to kind of name out a few, are, well, let's just say having slow starts. The Kings, as you said, last place National Hockey League. You got the Anaheim Ducks this year, who did have Corey Perry, go down early. Makes me wonder if they're in that Nylander hunt, if they're going to kind of make a little bit of a run. Vegas 10-12, the 2 games under 500. You have the Philadelphia Flyers right now that are 9-10. Didn't expect that, to be honest. The Devils 9-9, they're playing 500, and Pittsburgh is second last in the Metropolitan, 8-4, 2-6 in their last 10. So you got teams that a lot more time to go. We still have it's 62 games remaining for some teams, or 61. It kind of varies, but you still have a lot of hockey to be played, and these are good hockey teams that could bounce back. So speaking of the teams that are struggling, going around the table here quickly, fellas, what team has the best chance to rebound from the teams that I mentioned, or a team that maybe I have not mentioned that you want to point out that was a playoff team last year that may be struggling? I'll go to you first, Jess.
Personally, I think Pittsburgh has the best chance to turn this around. If their goaltending gets healthy and I think the big
plays
thing,
to par.
And I think the big thing with Pittsburgh is he gets hot. Like he has to kind of get going, and he goes on a bit of a roll for a while. He's been rough so far this season, and I just don't think something's right there. I mean, Crosby's healthy, Murray's healthy. They keep that lineup consistent. Jim Rutherford will try and do something at the trade deadline if they're in it. Pittsburgh, I think, will hang around.
Yeah, you gotta say it. I that's a very good point. Dane?
Yeah, I gotta. Pittsburgh's a sexy pick, right? They're still a really good hockey team. I think Crosby is out for a little bit, and like you said, Matt Murray is one of the streakiest goalies I've ever seen. He could be the best goalie in the world sometimes, and then he slumps for a couple of games. I'm not even sure who their backup goalie is.
No.
I don't know if they're.
Jerry or DeSmith? In Pittsburgh?
Yeah,
DeSmith or Jerry?
So I think they're going to look at the next 5 games, and depending on how they do and how the goaltending is, do they make
How
a
is
move?
it Kari Lettinen not have a team yet still, though? That's what I don't understand. The guy's looking to play hockey, apparently.
Is Kari Lettinen paying you to advertise for him?
I don't know if he was. I'd be getting him on the panel here to talk about why the hell he's not playing.
$6 million and playing terrible his last couple seasons.
254 goals against average last year. Not terrible.
Well,
Kyrgios
we'll see.
Kyrgios McElhinney had good numbers as a backup last
Pittsburgh's
year.
never been shy to make moves during the season. Pittsburgh's always trading players here and there.
Never mind, the Kings should be listening to this show right now saying to get a goalie. They're playing their fourth goalie right now.
They probably gave Peter Budaj and told him he could keep his jerseys, and that's how he came. You can audition for other teams by playing in our net.
I couldn't agree more about Pittsburgh, fellas, but I'm going to go off the chart here and not say Pittsburgh because that's the most obvious pick. So it's pretty much saying what I would have picked. I want to say Vegas.
I agree with you with Vegas.
I still want to say Vegas because it's early. Colin Miller. I want to give him a little optimism there too. A little shout out to Sioux boy Colin Miller, listener friend of the show as well, who we hope to have on in the very near future again that we're playing on as well. So 10-12 this year. They're a little bit slower earlier in the year. I think they're in a division where they can make ground. No offense. The Oilers are 500. The Canucks are 10-12 and they're considered fourth in the division right now. The Ducks are 500. They're third in the division. Now, if that means the division's just tight, it's competitive. You got the Flames and Sharks that are above there right now. I think Vegas can make up some ground. Vegas wins 2 games, they're second in that division. That's where things turn around. Where in Pittsburgh, you're a little bit more behind. You're 4 or 5 games behind right now.
I mean, for a team where nothing could go wrong for them last year, they lose their top 3 goalies and they're still winning hockey games. And I think this year they've just been very unlucky. Pacioretty's been brutal since
he's been fucking awful.
Because Pacioretty's a stormy cloud.
Montreal is loving that trade. Oh my god!
I harp on him like it's going out of style, but I have never seen him be a good quality player. I mean, he streaks or he goes on runs. I mean, he had some decent point totals in Montreal. Don't get me wrong, but he has never wowed me. There's been nothing about his game that says, wow, he's worth paying that much money for. Wow, he's worth being on the American.
And he got in the letter right away. But you move Neil, that's what they tried to replace. Or not, sorry, move. They lost Neil. You lost Stas. No, you got Stassi. Stassi's there. So Stassi's hurt. But you have Neil that left. You David Perron left. That's the one that left. And, you Fleury's not having the season that he was, having last year at this current time.
Fleury's getting old too, though.
He is.
Fleury may have had the best season for a goaltender that I've seen in a very long time last year.
Very good playoff run too. Very good. Oh my god. But fellas, we're gonna move on. We have a couple more topics to bring up. We have 10 more minutes or so left here on the show here tonight. Just wanted to say thank you for coming on by for the Game Sports Show. Again, the listeners, we're live at Northern Superior Brewing Company. Dave McCaig alongside Dane Hanchrow and Justin Hykel. Fellas, get into the next topic. We're talking about the Buffalo Sabres. Dane, I'm going to let you spearhead this topic with the Buffalo Sabres after my comments here. Jack Hykel, Jeff Skinner. I even said it, Jeff Skinner. Justin said this in the summer. That trade was a steal. No, I'm not going to give, that's not Dubas' fault. I'm just, any GM. Where were the Leafs? Where were the Oilers? Where were teams that were looking for some scoring? The Leafs weren't really looking for scoring. We haven't. So maybe erase that. I'm going to pretty much erase what I said about Toronto. Edmonton, maybe let's go there. Where were these other teams when they just traded a second-round pick to get Jeff Skinner? A second-round pick to get a guy who is a potential to be a 30-plus goal guy every season when healthy. I know that's a big question mark, but he's a good hockey player. He's fitting in great in Buffalo, obviously. Palmanville, as you mentioned, a point-a-game guy, essentially. He's 35 years old. And Rasmus Dahlin, slow start, but picking it up as of late, And then he's drawing a lot of comparisons. You said you saw a lot of the Adam Larson kind of effect in him. A lot of people were comparing him to Nicklas Lindstrom, which you should shake your head about because there's one person who's Nick Lindstrom, and that is Nick Lindstrom, in my total opinion to you. But Rasmus Dahlin is definitely a generational talent in my eye. He'll be one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League going forward. I think he has potential to be more of a Victor Hedman. I think that's where I can see Rasmus Dahlin going. And yes, he's a Swede. All of them are Swedes. But are they a playoff team? Carter Hutton, a number one goalie. In my opinion, Carter Hutton's playing very well. I'm still not sold on him being a number one goalie. It's like what Cam Talbot did in Edmonton. Ever since then, he hasn't been the same since that hot year that he had. I'm the kind of guy that you need more than 1 year to prove that you're a number one goalie. And the playoff team, they are playing like it. I don't think they're a top 3 team in the division, but I think they're a wild card team, which gives a little troublesome if you're a Lightning or a Leaf fan, because that's also a team that you don't want to play in the first round of the playoffs if you finish first in your division, or respectively first in the Metropolitan Division, because I think that's a tough team to play. A lot of energy. Phil Helsey's got that team playing to just to a level that he wants them to play at. So the Buffalo Sabres, Dane, are they for real?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been stocking up on first-round draft picks, and their picks, you got 2 first overall picks in Hykel and Dahl in there. So you got your core there. You got your franchise defenseman. You got your franchise centerman that's in his 4th year. That's, showing what he can actually do. You got to look at Jason Botterill. That skinny
Related to
trade-
Darcy by chance?
They are related to my neighbors.
Okay.
Darcy, so
Didn't know that.
Cousins, something like that. But yes, they're part of the family.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So yeah, I know Skinner. I think he has 14, 15 goals already this year. Contract year. He's looking to get paid.
Yeah.
Is Buffalo going to be able to afford him next year? Probably not. But I'm a big fan of Casey Middlestat. I think he's going to be a really good hockey player. I think he only has about 9 points right now, but. Buffalo's looking good, man. Watch out. Tampa, Boston, Toronto, they're coming up in the division. But like
Patrice
you said,
Bergeron's out in Boston. Big loss.
I think they'll probably be a wild card team. I think it's going to be pretty hard to crack that top 3. But
I honestly,
you never know.
I think they're a wild card team too, but I really don't think they're going to make it this year. Still, I think they're not going to make it by like a 9th seed. You know what I mean? By that kind of close.
I think they're going to be in it to stir the pot. I really do.
Think making the wild card?
Oh yeah, 100%. They're good, and it's just a bunch of young kids out there having fun. That's
It's like
honestly
how Toronto
what I
was
see.
the first year.
That's exactly it. And I mean, if they make the playoffs, they make the playoffs. Whatever happens once they get there is an added bonus to this season. But you kind of get a look to what they can do with that roster, what they do in the playoffs, who you want to pay, who you want to keep around, kind of.
Yep.
I think as far as the Skinner being a free agent, his contract goes, Buffalo would be stupid to get rid of him. Not overpay for him, but you've got a guy that looks like he's playing with Jack Eichel.
They got
They got chemistry.
They got
Everything's-
chemistry. And
that team is gelling right now. And
Jack
Rasmus
Eichel-
Ristolainen on the blue line's a stud. I'm a big fan of Rasmus Ristolainen.
Up to this season, Jack Eichel's looked robotic out there to me. He hasn't looked like the player where he was drafted.
And where we chirped him,
Well,
being
100%.
coach, GM, and president.
This
and
year,
player.
he's looked totally different. I think
Yeah.
maybe you just offer Skinner something with some money and not a lot of term.
I mean, they have to sign Sam Reinhart too. Who's actually
Reinhart, you gotta give a contract to-
Dolan's going to come up. You
Buffalo can't have a lot of money allotted to anything else.
Skinner's
The
gonna
gem,
look
though,
for
in
her,
this-
though, I
the
feel like
gem
he's
in
gonna
this,
look for
though,
a big contract.
The gem in this is Carter Hutton, like you said, because that goalie is not locked up for a lot of term or money. That's not occupying a lot of their cap space, which is nice. Where if you're in Toronto, Anderson's only $5 million, which is nice. But I don't know what Cam Talbot is in the top of my head right now. I don't know if Dane could, if I can get producer goes to look
It's
at
kind
that.
of like the conversation Dane and I had off air about the situation the Islanders are in. They got 2 goalies that are playing really well for them, and
They're not major money.
And I think combined they're paying $3 million for 2 goalies that are winning them games.
Talbot's 4.1. So those don't seem high, but when you got a goalie, it's a kind of the gamble that you take when Carter Hutton was signed. The Buffalo Sabres signed him in the offseason, okay? And they didn't sign him with the expectation to be as good that he is. And it was a 3-year contract that they signed him to, okay? And the contract's 2.7. Now, if that works out for them, that just gives you that option to be able to maybe sign Jeff Skinner to that extended term. Fellas, moving on, we got 2 more topics to jump in. We only got about a handful of minutes left on the show. We're going to go around and talk about the Maple Leafs. Slow start. I'm going to say right now, spearhead this topic. 30 shots against first period. It's that really stays to what I've been saying since 2006. That Toronto hasn't had defense, essentially, since Brian McCaig and Tomas Kaberle and Dmitry Yuskevich and those different guys, if anyone remembers those names. You have Morgan Riley this year is having a season that's just fantastic. Gardner and Zaitsev, don't even get me started. Don't get me and Justin going on that's been beat for a whole year with that. But, it's not even fully Gardner. It's Zaitsev. It's some players out there that just aren't getting a lot of it. And Igor Orgazhanov is having that English barrier, so the communication on the ice has been an issue apparently that we're hearing mutters of. So it's just that improvement needed on defense. You got Mitch Marner who's making stellar plays forward right now. He's blocking shots, sliding passes, back checking hard. So you got that at least coming from the forwards, but defensively the Leafs are still in question, period. They need a defenseman. And speaking of that, it leads to what I wanted to talk about with the Toronto Maple Leafs for a trade that I brought up today. But I'm going to save my trade thought for last, because we don't have enough time to really argue with it, because I don't think you're going to like it. But Nylander, let's continue this topic, Justin. New week, new time to talk about Nylander. People are saying sit the bastard because he's waiting, but it's not a fact of saying it's time to get him to play or get value for him. Dubas is going to buy time until the very last day, guaranteed about what's going to go on here. Justin, what do you want to see? And if you want to see a trade, what do you want to get for him? We've got about a minute, and same with Dane before we come back to me to wrap up this point.
I'd just like to see him back in Toronto playing. That's it. I'm getting real sick of all this trade talk, because all it is everyone's pitching other teams garbage and salary cap nightmares and saying, well, we want Nylander to... I'm getting sick of this, because when you actually cut to the meat and potatoes and listen to what the general managers are saying in interviews, and we're not getting all 100% the truth, but we're not talking about this, we haven't had contact with these people, and everyone's basically just saying, nothing's really going on. Toronto's trying to get him signed. And so
that's been the plan.
And so why, I'm just not going to believe otherwise. I'm sticking with the course, and Toronto's already signed.
Imagine having him and Matthews back, how that offense would look, though. It'd just be absolutely amazing. But the salary does scare me. Dane?
I don't know. I think they're going to trade him.
Me too.
I think they need defense.
Oh, yeah. Really?
I think they're just in a
Holy
position where
have you been the last year?
it's just making Kyle Dubas' job easier in a sense, where you have a guy that has a bunch of value that you can trade for a good defenseman. Who's that guy? I really don't know. Like I said, I say this all the time. Good defensemen are hard to find, and you always got to overpay for them. So, are they going to get a top 2 defenseman for Nylander? Maybe a top 3, top 4 kind of guys. Will be interesting. But like you said, Kyle Dubas will wait till the last moment until he gets fair value, if they do indeed trade him. But he's a smart guy, and he knows his math, and he's not going to sign him for more money than he knows the team can afford, and he's not going to put them in cap hell like all these teams in the West are in right now.
Oh no, and that's why he was brought there, because he's a boy genius is what they called him when they hired him. That's taking it right from the Toronto Star on that one, or Toronto Sun. I don't know can't remember which one. I know producer Ghost might correct me on that, but I might ignore him, because to get to my point with the Nylander, I sat at work today on my break while we're thinking about the excitement of doing the show here at Northern Superior Brewing Company with you guys. Every week I've kind of a different scenario, and I've always been keen about Nylander going to Los Angeles Kings. Muzzin coming back the other way, potentially looking at Rasmus Kapari coming back the other way too in that trade, or some moves because of the connection with the Hounds. There's that realistic. There's teams are looking at Chicago. Dane brought up a good point yesterday when we were sitting at the house. But the only team, for some reason, that sticks in my mind is the Carolina Hurricanes. The team that Toronto lost to last night. Very good for Dubas to transition over to the general manager's office and start talking, right? It's Carolina. I bet you Nylander was somewhere in that building or watching that game. He had to be there because that's the team he might potentially getting traded to. And I went to Cap Friendly today. Not literally. I went on the computer, went on Cap Friendly, and made a deal for a trade. All right? And the one that made me really think and look hard, and you get to see the picks that Toronto has and Carolina has available. The first trade that I actually made was Toronto getting Artemi Panarin from Columbus. I've been saying that. I think it's going to happen. It's between Toronto and Tampa Bay to get him this year as a rental to make a run this year. And I think going back the other way is a first, a fourth, 2 sevenths, and Levo. You see how Jeff Skinner went for a second. The value for expiring contracts are not that high. I think that first is what's going to make Columbus tip over, and then that's just going to transition into this nice trade with Nylander that I kind of proposed. I want to get the listener's opinion, and we're going to save your guys' opinion because we can talk about this for a long time. We're only got a couple minutes. William Nylander going over to Carolina with Andrew Nielsen. If you guys don't know who Andrew Nielsen is, he's a defenseman prospect with the Marlies. Don't forget, they're deep for prospects. We got Justin Holl. You got Andreas Borgman, who might consider instead of Nielsen in this trade, but you got guys there that could transition up. And going back to Toronto is Jakob Slavin, who's locked up for 5 years at only $5.2 million, which is absolutely affordable. And he is a top 2. He's been playing that over in Carolina. He has the potential to do that. He's a 35-point guy. He plays a lot of PK minutes. And Julien Gauthier. Carolina hasn't made it over in Carolina, hasn't been able to really crack that roster. I think, without he had World Junior success, Dubas has watched this, seen this, and I think transitioning over, he can slide in there, especially if it comes up to a problem in the future about signing certain forwards, and coming back over Toronto's way, a 3rd-round pick. So William Nylander, Nielsen for Slavin, Gauthier, and a 3rd from Carolina. Carolina has 2 seconds this year. Buffalo's and theirs. They have 2 fourths and 2 sevenths. They have picks to sacrifice, and to sweeten the pot, they'll do it. And my prediction is Carolina signs Nylander to a 5-year, $7.2. That's what Nylander signs for. So that's my little Nylander trade prediction. Dubas, stamp it in, let it happen. Don't listen to Kiprios or Colby Armstrong. I like the Anaheim Duck trade in the scenarios of Fowler and Manson, don't get me wrong. And don't get me wrong, let's say Colton Parayko would be a good deal. But realistically, when it comes to cap, Carolina and Toronto are on the same level, being able to afford and do this trade, and Toronto gets a defenseman locked up for a handful of years, opposed to just a couple of years. So, fellas, last topic we're going to talk about, we're not talking about power rankings, as we're saving that, okay, for hopefully when Hartsburg comes on the show within the week here to do his rankings. Worst trades in the National Hockey League in the last 25 years to conclude the show. We're going to tie this in with our multiple choice. Okay, we're going to be rebooting the multiple choice on the local segments that we're going to upload from bonus shows from Icebreakers. Just if nobody remembers what the multiple choice was, it's almost like the quiz, which is trademarked, by the way, that is on TSN, except we have A, B, C, D, and bonus questions, and it's called multiple choice. That is the difference of it. A couple trades that Dane has written down for this topic. Ben Bishop for Corey Conacher. Philip Forsberg, Martin Erat. Luke Shen for James Van Riemsdyk. Toronto fans love that. Brent Burns for a 2nd round, and Devin Sadaguchi, Charlie Coyle, and a 1st. Pontus Adberg ended up being the 2nd round pick. Scott Gomez for Ryan McDonough. And another one, Leaf fans, cover your ears. Tuukka Rask for Andrew Raycroft. Alexei Yashin for Chara and the 2nd overall pick.
Who turned out to be Jason Spencer.
Joel Thornton for Wayne Primo, Brad Stewart, and Marco Sturm in Boston. Boston, I have no sympathy for you because of how you got Sagan and all that. Then Peter Chiarelli basically gave him away for garbage. So, fellas, going around the table, we'll go to myself first, Justin, then Dane to conclude it. To say the worst trade overall, and oh my God, reading some of these trades, I'm sure there's a couple more that we might have forgotten. I'm very torn about the Yashin and Thornton one, but I'm going Rask for Raycroft. Just because I'm a Leaf fan. We did get Anderson now. Don't get me wrong. So I'm going the Rask for the Raycroft thing because Raycroft did play a lot of games in Toronto, got a lot of different wins because he had to play 70 games a year, but he was absolutely god-awful and didn't work out. Rask ended up winning the Cup in Boston, and this is, like I said, no disrespect for Anderson, is now I'm so thankful we have Freddie. And technically we got Freddie for Phil Kessel because of that trade with Pittsburgh. So it all worked out in the end. But how things could have been and would have been if Tuukka Rask was there instead, maybe Matthews wouldn't be our pick. There's a lot of things you got to consider, but still that trade really bums me on how you kept Justin Pogge over Tuukka Rask. And just because it went to Boston and we lost Game 7 in Boston to Tuukka Rask in 2013.
Well, I'm in full agreement on the Tuukka Rask trade.
Is that the one you're choosing?
Yeah, 100%. But I think it was more of a marketing play at the time. I really do, because Justin Pogge was like Canada's savior at the time, and the Leafs...
Ferguson.
How could they not roll the dice on the kid that just...
How about the guy, though, that makes 50 saves averagely the World Juniors, and Pogge only averaged 18 saves a game, though? What about the statistics then? Sorry, I'm not bashing for that. It's just a point.
No, I'm just saying, I think that decision was based solely on marketing. If they could pull it off with the Pogge
Leafs and marketing, is that a thing? Media? But that's the trade you're going with?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think, though, before I slide over to Dane, that Philip Forsberg for Erat trade, though, I don't know if Dane's bringing that up. Is that the one you're bringing up?
No, I'm going
No?
to
Okay.
ask for Raycroft.
You're going that too? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll say around. How about that Forsberg for Erat trade though? What the fuck?
You know,
Where was the scouting on that?
it's
For
tough.
real?
I don't know. It's easy to look back at stuff and go, you know, what were they thinking?
Thornton
But
for Wayne, Primo, Stewart, and Sturm. Where's Boston on this one?
but like at the time, like you're looking at these guys where, as far as I know, Joe Thornton had character issues at the time. Philip Forsberg had character issues at the time. If a team can't manage a player's character, they're doing him a favor by sending him somewhere that he can do something. So I mean, maybe they're just the team's got to eat some shit to get a player out of their hair.
Dane, your pick.
Yeah, I gotta go Rass for Raycroft. I got a guy that's 16 years old playing on a terrible Finland team that's making
40
60,
saves, yeah,
50, 60 saves a game for like the 3 years that he played in the World Juniors. I mean,
And then he signed
Justin
Hospital.
Pogge, the Canadian kid, they picked Pogge over Rass, so it's not even as far to say that it was Rass for Raycroft. It was pretty much Pogge or Rass.
Because you probably could have traded Pogge for
I
Raycroft.
mean, as far as like trades go for like players that have already settled into the NHL, not prospects, because that can go either way, and that's the same with the Forsberg and Erat trade. Like unproven prospect, that trades like that happen all the time. The other one I would look at is Brett Burns for Setaguchi. Charlie Coyle did come out of that. He was a pretty good player, but I mean, Brett Burns
Zach
went
Phillips.
to San Jose and ended up first, second year becoming one of the best defensemen in the NHL. So
Is he the biggest payoff trade that I'm going to have to go with payoff trade was Shen for JVR. Payoff trade. Not steal. Payoff trade meaning how Toronto got rid of somebody who was already on the back burner of being a bust for somebody who wasn't. JVR was still scoring goals. Something happened in Philly for the first time where he wasn't able to sign there, and Leaf fans were ecstatic when Shen got let go. I remember being so excited when I saw that trade. And JVR turned up, and now he's back in Philly, and hey, he fucked Philly this year too. $7 million a year for JVR.
I think we got JVR's best years out of him.
So that's why that was a payoff trade. But that would have been a good multiple choice segment for Sunday, but we are just warming up for that multiple choice. We'll do some more questions as such when we have our bonus upload on Sunday live from Icebreaker Sports Bar at the John Rhodes Community Center, also powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company, where we are obviously here tonight, and we are going to get to our conclusion portion right now as quick and dirty show we like to call this one. Due to yours truly having scheduling conflicts and commitments, I want to go around the table and say thanks to you, Dane, for those great topics tonight too that I allowed you to bring up, and producer Ghost verified, Scott, everyone agreed to. That's a lot of ladders you had to climb to get approved there, but good job on that.
thank you, guys.
Now, when I go home, are you gonna have dinner ready for when I come home after hockey tonight, or?
No, I already had dinner.
Oh, okay. So I'm stuck making it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sunday, we'll see you at Icebreakers. So come with
Yeah, absolutely.
Justin. Sunday, and thank you.
I will be there for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Colts play at 4:30, so.
Yeah. But we'll be done. I work. Yeah, that's good. Say thank you for coming on by tonight as well.
Oh, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem.
Brave.
It's only been 4 years.
Brave the Colts.
Yeah. Speaking of the Colts, though, good for you. Been looking pretty good right now for
Yeah,
them.
my matchup got flexed to 4:30 this weekend
Yeah.
for potential playoff implications. That is not a thing I expected to say in September.
No, definitely not.
So-
Definitely not what I was thinking either. I want to say thanks to Scott Nason, who is our board operator tonight, and I want to say thanks to you, the listeners, for making us a part of your night here tonight. We apologize that we didn't get into more baseball talk or any additional sports talk. We only had approximately 50 minutes to an hour to talk tonight, so we just stuck it to hockey and a little bit of local that we discussed. We'll do more local talk for a bonus upload on Sunday, and make sure you keep an eye on Monday, as we'll be back at the Wicked Sister and back to our usual schedule next week for Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from Wicked Sister Sports Center and here at Northern Superior Brewing Company, respectfully. Now, you can listen to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. Don't hesitate to veer on over, if you're on the website, to the merchandise section. You can look at our shirts that are on sale right now, $25. Proceeds going towards One the Critters Need and Big Brother, Big Sister. And also, don't be shy to follow us on at the Game Sports Show SSM on our new Instagram page and our Facebook page at the Game Sports Show. We'll be uploading a bonus trivia question this week on the Facebook page for a chance to win a great prize courtesy of our sponsors, or one of our sponsors. You never know what it will be. And speaking of those sponsors, I want to say thanks to our homes to the Game Sports Show, the Wicked Sister, Sports Center Bar and Grill, the newly Icebreaker Sports Bar, Silver Creek Golf Course, and of course, to the show here tonight from Northern Superior Brewing Company. I also want to say thanks to Pingator Cleaners over in Sault Ste Marie, Michigan. Over here in Sioux, Ontario, North Shore Sports and Auto, the Superior Pro Shop, the Salon, Discover the Canvas, Northern Critters in Need, Big Brother, Big Sister, Cambelange Hockey, and Northern Signs for being sponsors of the Game Sports Show. And partners, Eagles 95.1, and to the Sioux Thunderbirds as well. Without the contributions of our sponsors, partners wouldn't be where we are today, and of course the great staff and panel that I have here on the Game Sports Show here in Canada, and that Scott has over in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Until Sunday, where we're going to have our bonus upload, make sure you keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.